And I was like, have you literally no shame? Your child's team is eviscerating these 8-year-olds. You want me to put the score on there? But I mean, it wasn't just me. She would turn around and then yell at her son too. And that's what's really, gross, because her son is the best player on the team. He's scoring layup after layup, right? He's like 5 feet tall, playing against 3'4" kids. He's dominating this game, but he walked away crying because she kept screaming at him. So it's like you're instilling, not just like bad sportsmanship in your kids, but then if you're also, berating them, they walk away feeling like they didn't accomplish something, and it's just the wrong message.
That's the part they're missing, is that these kids are there. They're like, I'm here protecting my kid and his integrity. No, you're protecting your ego and what you expected to happen for your kid. And your kid's probably horrified and hates you deep down inside over the example that you're setting. Really fast, because this is how bad it gets. It's only 30 seconds worth of a fight from Colorado a couple years ago. This is one of the worst ever. Really fast, watch this.
What is happening? What is happening? This cannot happen. This cannot happen. This cannot happen. Jesus. You chase Satan in the name of Jesus. Father, right now.
In the name of Jesus, Father, right now. That didn't help the fight continued, but these things happen. Again, that's it for this week on the watch list, you guys. Thank you for joining me, Ravana. It's been a wonderful week. Thank you for being with you guys also at home. We'll catch you guys next week, but up next is John Iadarola with the Damage Report. There's gonna be some garbage people. I love that segment. Check him out. We'll see you guys later.
Welcome to the Damage Report. Today in the news, insane reactions on both sides to the sinking of the flagship of Russia's Black Sea fleet. We've got Jen Psaki smoothly transitioning into her post-Biden administration role in the media by mocking Peter Doocy of Fox News. That's gonna be fun. And in the 2024 presidential election, will we even have debates at all? It's not looking like a sure thing at this point. All that and more to be broken down on today's episode with me, John Iadarola, and the host of so much Happy Half Hour, sometimes Game Busters, sometimes other things, Brett Erlich. How's it going?
Oh my God, I'm so happy. People behind the scenes was crazy. I joined the show Skype during the intro. I do want to take a moment to tell everybody, like, John really wants one of these. And this show's up for one of these, and only very select people have their own name on one of these. I'm one of them. It was 12 years ago, but still, those of us who are clinging to relevancy want to do so. Myself, I'm talking about myself here, by affiliating themselves with people who are wildly relevant right now, and that's John Iadarola, Marissa, and Sophie, and Skip, and everyone else who contributes to the Damage Report.
Million other people that all do great work.
Fewer than you'd think, just because of resources. But tyt.com/vote. Get in there, do it now. Get John another toy.
Exactly, thank you. And then someday I too can use it as a literal doorstop in my house, Brett. No, I will not be doing that. If we get a Webby, you're gonna see it right here. I don't know which of the toys or Funkos are gonna have to go, but we're gonna have it in the background. You can get us there by voting at tyt.com/vote every day. We've got a nice, comfortable lead, but you know what? I think we can be even more comfortable than comfortable. That is the quest of my life, and we're gonna apply it to this as well. In any event, Brett, thank you for being here. Thank you everyone for watching and listening, and we appreciate you being here. We got so much news we're gonna break down for you today. And if you're on a platform that allows for the liking of things, please do that so that people know we're live and the notifications go out. And if you wanna respond to anything we talk about with questions, comments, concerns, we'll respond to you during our breaks. With all that said, Brett Erlich, do you wanna get into this thing?
Desperately.
Let's do it, starting off with some fun with this.
Я не хотел говорить о крейсере Москве, тем более, что были разные, так сказать. Но вы сказали, крейсер Москва – это абсолютный повод для войны, 100%. Это флагман наш.
Подумать об уничтожении железнодорожных узлов. Там, конечно, вопросики, они все едут и едут, я имею в виду лидеры. Но лидеров надо предупредить, пусть дома
Надо
сидят.
бабахнуть по Киеву, тогда не приедут. Вот что нужно сделать. Вот этого не должно быть никогда. То, что мы сейчас видим на экране. А есть один способ ответить. Бабахнуть один раз и все.
So if you were wondering how state TV in Russia was handling the sinking of the warship Moskva, not well, kind of freaking out there, calling for World War III as a result of it. In fact, here is a photo of this ship. You might be familiar with it for a number of reasons. One, it is the flagship of Russia's Black Sea fleet. It's also the actual ship that showed up very early on in the war that threatened the Ukrainian soldiers on Snake Island and then were told to go F themselves. Well, they have now gone and F themselves, I guess, to the bottom of the sea. But anyway, those pundits and hosts on Russian state TV were not handling it well. The first gentleman that you heard goes on to say, even the fact there is an attack against our territory is now like we were doing this special operation, no more. Now it is all out war. And media throws in, he sounds as angry as an old man trying to send back soup in a deli, which I think is a line from Seinfeld. Anyway, for real, no fooling around anymore. What's it called? What are we waging right now? This special operation ended. It ended last night when our motherland was attacked. So the motherland, by the way, is that ship, which at the same time, Russia is gonna go on to claim wasn't actually attacked. It was totally just an accident that caused it to go to the bottom of the sea. But he's saying now you attacked us, so now it's on. Dude, you started it. That's like you just tackled someone to the ground. They reached up and just lightly slapped you, and now you're freaking out. You know what's a great way to not have your ships be sunk? Don't invade other countries. I think that's general advice that applies to Russia and every other country, including the United States. A lot less ships are sunk when you don't launch barbaric illegal wars. Brett, what do you think?
Right. The Pentagon cannot confirm or deny that this was an attack by the Ukrainian military, or if it was what the Russians ended up saying, which was like, it was fire, but also you did it anyway. But what you see from the Russians right now is the consequence of having such a state-run media apparatus for so long in being able to exist in your own bubble and not having it face outward, that you now, like, you realize they're bad at it. They're like the people who've been in a cave, and so they just like come and they step out into the light and they don't know how to react. They're so bad at spinning this. They're spinning it 3 or 4 different ways. And anyone who's spun a basketball knows, you just have to spin it one way fast enough and it'll stay upright. Right now, they're all just like spinning the ball in different directions, and it's pathetic.
Exactly, and let's be clear. So far as I know, it had been on fire. It was being towed away to be repaired. So I am assuming that there was no loss of life. That as it's in the process of sinking, they're able to get the people off. It had been with other ships, and I don't want any of those soldiers to die, the sailors. I don't want the ship to go down. I didn't want the war, and I assume, by the way, many Russian soldiers probably share my position on that. Unfortunately, they are not in charge. But at the same time that the pundits and the hosts on Russian state TV are freaking out about this, the other side is having a bit of a victory lap. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky thanked, quote, "those who showed that Russian warships can sail away, even if it's to the bottom," during a public address on Thursday night. The Minister of Defense of Ukraine tweeted, "A flagship Russian warship is a worthy diving site. We have one more diving spot in the Black Sea now. We'll definitely visit the wreck after a visit in the war. By the way, I already have 300 scuba dives." I love that it's sort of like getting in a dig about the war, but it's also like kind of braggy.
Yeah, absolutely.
300, that's impressive. And finally, a member of parliament, Lesia Vasilenko, says Moskva battleship went down with missiles and ammo used to target Ukrainian cities and towns. Now it's part of the submarine fleet. So they're having some fun. And by the way, this particular ship was able to hold and then eventually fire 17 long-range cruise missiles. So it's a significant piece of military hardware. And considering all the devastation that has been, wreaked not only against the Ukrainian military, but against civilians specifically recently, I get why they would want to have a little bit of fun with this.
But not every country does that. I think it's worth saying this is a particular like cold country, Eastern European way of talking to each other back and forth. Like, this is fascinating. They're getting in like silly punches while people are dying. And that's kind of the MO of this part of the world when it comes to war. It's just like, no, we go long. Don't mess with us, but like we're not only dangerous, we're crazy. Is like the branding of it, and also like a deadpan situation is they're being super, super mean to you.
100%. And you might well be right, but I wonder, especially after this, like in the next war that the US needlessly enters into, are we sure that like Lauren Boebert wouldn't be tweeting things like this? I don't know. I guess we'll see.
It wouldn't be as funny for all that the right complains about the death of humor. Like this humor, this dark humor is just landing. Like to say, hey, good job, submarine fleet, idiots.
Exactly. It's like a line from a TV show. Anyway, so I'm getting a bit of schadenfreude, a bit of chuckles out of this. You know what I would prefer though? Russia, get your soldiers, get your ships, get your tanks out of Ukraine.
It's worth,
no more will blow up.
Yeah, it's worth.
I don't want there to be a war.
It's worth like hanging a lantern on this. Like look at one of the many arguments, you mentioned it earlier, coming from the Russians. We're escalating this because you had the gall to attack us, and we won't stand for anyone attacking us.
Exactly.
On our land. And this is in the sea, but like on our territory in the Black Sea. Yeah. That is insane. There is no one in the world, like fog of war aside, whether it's an attack of missiles from the Ukrainians to say they shot their Neptune missiles at it, or if it's a fire that broke out by accident, the Russians are saying something absolutely crazy, which is now that you're attacking us on our land, that's a bridge too far. Whoever would stand for that kind of behavior, well, you're expecting the Ukrainians to, you morons.
Yeah, doinks. That's what I would say. Okay, I got a couple quick updates. I want your fast reactions to these. So the first is about this back and forth, which you're alluding to. Both Russia and Ukraine said that ammunition had detonated aboard the Moskva, forcing the crew to evacuate, but they had different explanations for why that was. Ukrainians say that they struck it with a missile that caused the explosion, which obviously Russia doesn't like the idea of that, so they might lie about it. Russia says that ammunition exploded due to a fire, and then the cruiser ship sank in stormy sea conditions. As people are noting online, the sea was angry that day, my friends. Is that better though? Like, okay, you don't want to say that the Ukrainians hit you with a missile, but the idea that ammunition is just spontaneously exploding and then the wrath of the sea gods themselves took your ship out, apparently, does that make your military look better?
Right.
It's a wash at best.
We're not weak, we're incompetent.
We're incompetent, and then we like to follow up our needless fire explosion with sinking below the sea. What are they gonna be hit by an earthquake next? Is the Avatar like on the ground? Anyway, in addition to the ship being lost and its ability to, wage war in that area, something else might have been lost. And this is where we're gonna need to bring in an expert like Indiana Jones. But a news report from 2020 has given rise to the question of whether the vessel sank with a Christian relic, a piece of the true cross on board. The relic is a fragment of wood just millimeters large that, according to believers, is a piece of the cross on which Christ was crucified. That fragment is embedded in a 19th century metal cross, which is itself kept in a reliquary. And so maybe a bit of the actual cross of Christ was taken out. I would assume if I was one of the soldiers evacuating, I'd grab the cross if I really believe that it was part of it. So maybe it's safe, maybe.
All I gotta say is if anyone's traveled Europe or like watched a Rick Steves PBS report on Europe, everybody's got a piece of that cross. Like you'll be going through, like he'll be like, you can get delicious Parmesan cheese from the hills of Parma. Also, each one of these pigs that makes prosciutto di Parma is stuffed with little pieces of the original cross. Like there's hundreds and hundreds of these little shards going on. Yeah. So I feel, and let's be honest, it probably
if you want
the true cross.
No,
we don't know where the man's body's at. Then yeah.
Well, exactly. Yeah. If we don't, yeah. That's absolutely ridiculous. Where can I get some ark? I want some shards of ark, like goats. Do I dig inside the goats for the shards of ark? I don't know. Anyway, okay, with that, we're gonna turn back to the US and give you one of the big domestic political news developments of the day. Let's jump into this.
Public service announcement. If the chat's good, we can get a cat on camera, by the way. That'll happen.
I think that we might have to move towards that. In fact, I'm gonna give you a like challenge, everyone. If we can get to 1,000 in a time that I consider reasonable, we'll give you a cat. But first, apologies to the director. Okay, now we're gonna jump into this news here. CNN has revealed yet more text messages that were going back and forth between extremely powerful and politically connected Republicans after the 2020 election and before the insurrection. In this case, coming from Senator Mike Lee and Representative Chip Roy, and oh boy, does it reveal a lot. So first of all, I need you to understand who Mike Lee is, who he was in the lead up to that election. He said on October 7th, "We're not a democracy." And he is technically right in a needlessly pedantic way. We're a representative democratic republic. But that I think was less of a statement of fact and more of like a social media vision board situation, because he would soon transition into working to make sure that we were both technically and realistically not a democracy. On November 7th, he sent a text message to Mark Meadows saying, "I want to offer words of encouragement to the president and have reached out to Molly for that reason." That's Molly Michael, Trump's executive assistant. "This doesn't have to come down to a binary choice between an immediate concession, because he'd lost, and a destruction of the credibility of the election process. That said, he's got some plans that might lead more towards one of those than the other." So first though, let's jump to Chip Roy, who on the same day messaged Mark Meadows to say, by the way, remember, Mark Meadows is as close to Trump as anyone at this point. "Good, be well. If you're still in the game, dude, we need ammo. We need fraud examples. We need it this weekend." And Mark Meadows says we are working on exactly that. And if you are a conservative or a Republican watching this, I want you to just briefly try to grapple with the idea that 4 days after the election, the closest allies to Trump are saying, you gotta find something. And Mark Meadows like, yeah, no, we're looking. We're totally trying to find something, because you at that point likely were already days into believing that this was an open and shut case. They'd already proved that the election had been stolen. No, behind the scenes, in private to each other, they're saying, we're looking, man. We're trying to get you that ammo. We're gonna get you something. That's what I find most fascinating, Brett, about these. It shows us the gap between what they were pretending to believe in public and what they were doing behind the scenes.
So that's your most shocking moment. If we could go back to graphic 3, the most shocking moment for me is when I see Chip Roy text the word dude. Dude, it's me, Chip,
where's my ammo?
Like, where's my ammo? No, that's absolutely right. They are trying to sell something in public, and it should go without saying. This is what they do everywhere. This disconnect between, like, this inconsistency, this strange grappling for any bit of reality to spin an insane non-reality around. Like, they can't. They have such low standards, and they can't even hit those.
Totally.
Meanwhile, like, you're looking at, I think, was it Meadows? There's like 2 identical right-wing guys that, I think it was Meadows. One of them is had to vacate his voter registration because he himself registered, Meadows registered in North Carolina and basically committed what, in my opinion, I would very easily say, if not legally, then just as a concept, is voter fraud.
Is voter fraud, exactly.
Where he registered at an address he'd never been to.
Yep.
Now
on Snake Mountain.
Yeah, and that's like, that is the reality that they are trying to get you to live in or depart from, and make you believe that the entire election was stolen when they themselves were in charge of all the states that they say it was stolen in. That's another point.
Well, look, there's a thread of incompetence that flows through this. So can we have just a moment of fun? I love this, and we're gonna have more fun with the story than probably any other source. Mike Lee had sent this letter of support privately via text to Mark Meadows, listing all these different names that are down to do whatever is necessary. And Mike Lee says, we're sending this as a private communication from us to him, Trump, through you. We are not issuing it as a press release. And if it's helpful for you to leak it, feel free to do so. And Mark Meadows responds, question mark, question mark. Like, he doesn't even know. Like, Mike Lee's like, we've got your back, and we can do it publicly, we can do it privately. And Mark Meadows is like, what? I don't like, dude, we're busy. We're working 14 hours a day on this. So anyway, Mike Lee goes on to say, Sidney Powell is saying she needs to get in to see the president, but she's being kept away from him. Apparently, she has a strategy to keep things alive and put several states back in play. Oh, that's so revelatory. Like, they know exactly what they're doing. They know that they lost these states, but she's got this plot. And if we only follow her, then a couple of these states might be back in play. And look, he just keeps pressing. You gotta talk to Sidney Powell. Now, he eventually let's see, I think it's like 11 days later, Sidney Powell joins the effort, does the press conference. It's insane. She says a bunch of crazy stuff about Dominion and all those different companies involved in the election. Then Mike Lee messages, I'm worried about the Powell press conference. The potential defamation liability for the president is significant here, for the campaign and for the president personally. Unless Powell can back up everything she said, which I kind of doubt she can. And Mark Meadows says, I agree. Very concerned. I would be.
I love the defamation factor. Like, think of all the embarrassing things Trump has already done to defame himself. And they're afraid that something's gonna make it worse. And the truth is, all the people who had the potential to be even moderately credible looked at all the evidence or lack of evidence. Were like, I'm not gonna make stuff up. I have some self-respect. And a shocker here, and this is the theme that I want to take out of it, is these folks on the right, they don't love America like they said they do. Like, the thing about America is that we have free and fair elections, and we accept the results of them when they play out according to the rules that we set out in the Constitution. And they did, and courts said that they did. And it's important that we acknowledge reality at all. And that's what's so terrifying, is look at how thin the threads are that are keeping the fabric of America together.
Yeah. Exactly. Let me demonstrate those thin threads on, for instance, like a grasp on reality and everything. So Mike Lee is a senator. Okay, he's a senator. He's a joke, but at the same time, also still a senator. He gets to vote on all this stuff. He was messaging Meadows like, "Did you see that last episode of Mark Levin's show? You got to watch that, man." No, like they are. I'm not saying they're true believers about everything. I often believe they're quite cynical and don't believe the things that they're saying. But in private, when they didn't think anyone would see this, they literally think, no, Mark Levin, he's winning here. He's got it. He knows what's going on. You should watch him. Anyway, at some point, and again, to demonstrate the gap between what they were telling you conservatives and what they really believed, Mike Lee, again, senator, messages Mark Meadows. I don't think the president is grasping the distinction, but between what we can do and what he would like us to do. Nor do I think he's grasping the distinction between what certain members are saying that sound like they could help him, but would really hurt him. He's got a very real opportunity for a win in 2024. That opportunity could be harmed in multiple ways this effort. Now, Mike Lee didn't and never will come forward and say any of this because he's terrified of the retribution he would face. But behind the scenes, he was saying, no, dude, we gave it our try. We tried to overthrow the election. It didn't work. Now it just looks pathetic. We can't actually do the things that he's saying we should do. Meadows responds that Trump thinks the VP can reject the ballots. So apparently, I guess he was actually a true believer. He really believes behind closed doors that the VP could just decide who wins and who doesn't win the election, Brett. It's just they are in some ways as crazy as they would have us believe that they are.
And then also they're sticking with it after this. I love seeing these behind the scenes glimpses, because when they're talking to each other, they're like, this is gonna make it a lot harder for Trump to win, and implying in 2024, and implying that like they're being pushed too far, potentially to a point of no return where they're not gonna return and help the guy, where they're gonna switch to the other side. But as always happens on the right, no matter what, like they will tell you on Tuesday or on January 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, that something is indefensible, right? They'll say it's indefensible, all these things that Trump is gonna have you believe. And then February 1st, 2nd, 3rd, they're defending it.
They're defending.
It
It was defensible.
and it's still indefensible. But what you'll see with this, and later when we talk about the debate scene, they have more and more confidence, as much as they're complaining about left-wing media controlling everything. They have so much more confidence now in their right-wing media bubble that they'll still fight the fight. And they know that they can just get enough people to fill out the like crazy culture war part of their party to expand that tent, because they're never gonna lose the people that know that Republicans will give tax cuts to the rich. They just need another sideshow to get people in their big, ridiculous circus tent.
Yeah, 100%. I'm gonna close with this last graphic. January 6th comes, Chip Roy messages Mark Meadows, this is an S show. Fix this now. And Mark Meadows says, we are. They were not. They, in fact, very much were not fixing it. Anyway, with that said, we're gonna go to our first break. We got a lot to get to, including some fun. Jen Psaki asked about Peter Doocy, what she thinks about him. That's gonna be a hoot. We'll be right back.
Meow.
Something happened to that cat midway through the transition. Apologies. Anyway, everybody, thank you for being here. Much appreciated. Before we jump into the comments, I want to let you know about one of my favorite new pieces of merch that TYT has had in some time. Do we have the Dr. Ritchie shirt? Can we bring that up? So it is the double dose of indisputable truth from Dr. Ritchie shirt. And I just love that design. I love the cartoonification of Dr. Ritchie. I have fond memories of a game that is in no way linked to that image. I just, I'm thinking about things. When Karens are near, Dr. Ritchie has the cure. I love it. Anyway, that's available at Shop TYC.
Please don't tell Nintendo about this.
I'm being vague.
I showed our Shop TYT stuff to people who do this, and they're like, "You can't do any of this stuff."
Anyway, yeah, I don't know. I was a big GoldenEye fan. Can you put me on one of those? I don't know. Let's figure it out.
Legally, no, but
I mean,
I don't think
on something unrelated. Anyway. Okay, everybody, let's see what's going on. First, Kirk Sean has been a member for 13 months, says, "Hi, John." Hi, how's it going? Thank you for watching. Glad to have you here. Emo Dragon has become a tier 3 member, and I saved a message from Emo Dragon who said, "Love when Dragon Daddy and Drunkle Dragon get together. John and Brett, you guys have been paramount in my leftward journey. Proud to be a member." Thank you. I'm glad to have you aboard and to be having this particular sort of leftward journey. Others think the way you drift more to the left is by agreeing a lot with the right, and I think that's weird. Anyway, Ben Roy, welcome to Tier 1 membership. Glad to have all of our members aboard on both Twitch and YouTube and on our own members app. Oregon Dragon has been a member for 15 months, says, "I got distracted looking up cool sounding names for Dragon Cat. Yay, ADHD. I personally think the Dragon Cat is a perfectly cool name. Like it.
John, what's our protocol? Because wife is all about showing this cat to people.
Let's see the cat. We have 2 minutes, so if it has to happen quickly.
All right, bring the cat.
Let's do it. We're at 1,500 likes.
All right.
If you want to see the cat a second time, we're gonna need to get to 2,000. But let's bring that cat. By the way, Roger Harris says Brett's hat is pretty fly. This is nice. I like it.
This is from Julian Solomita. Here we go. Here's a cat.
Okay, we've got a cat.
It looks like a Basquiat. I don't know. I'm conflicted.
Oh my God! It reminds me of my cat growing up, Wiggins.
This is Zanzibar, which for you Tenacious D fans, I apologize that song's gonna be in your head the entire day. Marissa's losing it.
Oh my God, it's so squirmy. It just wants to move and get out. Okay, that is an adorable cat. I want that cat.
Hello, Zanzi.
Okay, thank you.
Beep, beep,
thank you,
beep.
Brett's wife. Thank you. So adorable. Oh yeah, no, you're here too, and you're great. Hello. Dill Robert says, "Must be casual Friday at the office for John." See, you guys were mocking me for wearing the tie. Now you mock me when I don't.
Yeah.
This is my new replacement bomber. This is the one that I didn't spill food on while eating while driving, but I think it looks pretty good. I was able to duplicate the patch placement. And later today, I'll probably spill a tuna fish sandwich on it.
I'm wearing this sweatshirt because I put one on before, and under the light, you could just see where I dropped ice cream. So
we're nasty, gross people, basically, is what's going on. Anyway, okay, so Sarah says, "How did John and JR make a transition so quickly?" With a lot of help from a lot of awesome people. That's the shorthand for it. Anyway, there's a lot of comments. In our next break, we're gonna get to a bunch. Keep sending your comments. We're gonna read as many as we can, and we do very much appreciate it. That said, we need to get back to the news because we got some fun in store for you. Don't go anywhere, Brett and I'll be right back.
Meow, cat sound.
The cat has recovered from whatever happened to it, and now it is very serious. Welcome back, everyone. It's time for a little bit of fun. Let's jump into this.
So we have to talk about Peter Doocy for 1 second.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
Is he a stupid son of a bitch? Or does he play a stupid son of a bitch on TV?
Okay. Well, he works for a network.
Okay.
That provides people with questions that nothing personal to any individual, including Peter Doocy, but might make anyone sound like a stupid son of a bitch.
Okay, so there you have Jen Psaki, who still technically is the press secretary, but very soon will be like hosting a show on MSNBC or something. It's a weird world we live in. Mocking Peter Doocy. Let's be clear, she did say that he sounds like a stupid son of a bitch, while also providing a bit of an out. So there's still a little bit of diplomacy there, Brett. She implies, yes, he does day after day sound like a stupid son of a bitch, but it isn't his fault. It's only because Fox provided stupid questions. And if you don't remember some of these questions, Marissa did a great job of rounding up some examples. So for instance, she mocks Peter Doocy's question about Texas busing migrants, pointing out that it's a publicity stunt. Peter Doocy is pretending as if it's a serious demonstration of immigration policy. He's always down to give the right the best shake when they're clearly being trolls. He asked if a White House event celebrating Ketanji Brown Jackson will be a super spreader. He asked questions about a video of Biden kissing Nancy Pelosi, asked a ton of questions about Hunter Biden and all that, and if whether President Joe Biden would support a special counsel to look into his son posing nude in a photo or something. And so anyway, look, there have been a lot of stupid questions, Brett. What do you think about her engaging with this though?
So we've been doing some, there's a channel that is basically on TYT's network that is basically home to every ridiculous Doocy and Psaki moment. So it's youtube.com/TYT investigates reports or facebook.com/TYT investigates. Don't ask me how I got that. But what you see, the most fascinating thing is he asks versions of the same question every day. The evolution from like, is there gonna be an investigation into Hunter Biden? Asked and answered. The next day, it'll be like, is there gonna be a special counsel investigation into Hunter Biden? Mm-hmm. And then it just gets one extra word essentially every single day for a week. And the reason that she is right in saying this is a Fox News thing is like, if you go back and look at what's happening on that network, it's just what they're reporting on anyway. And he's just the way that they get a quote from her to stick into those stories. And yeah, that's the short answer.
Yeah, basically it's, wouldn't it be fun if we could have a long conversation about a special counsel? Okay, that would be good. So let's just do that, even though there's no evidence that that's gonna happen. And so we'll ask a question about it, pretending that it's serious. And we can always say people are asking questions when it's our people who are asking the questions. And then they can get that interaction, no matter how bad he looks, it's gonna be interpreted in the most favorable light by the Fox audience. So you can run it anyway. It's an amazing scam that they've got going. They can just invent whatever news they want. And so that's what they did. Now, I do want to be clear. I was giving Psaki a little bit of credit there for being diplomatic in that she was implying that this isn't his fault. That yes, he does sound stupid, but it's not his fault. Fox gives him these questions. To be fair, John Roberts responded saying, note to press secretary, Peter Doocy makes the decisions on what topics he wants to quiz you on and develops the questions himself. His philosophy is a basic tenet of journalism. Comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. If that makes all of us stupid SOBs, so be it. So first of all, he strips away the cover. No, if he sounds like a stupid son of a bitch, he worked hard to sound like a stupid son of a bitch, and you will give him the credit that he's due. But also pretending that is the journalistic philosophy that Peter Doocy is just the most recent incarnation of. He is asking serious questions to find out about what those who are most afflicted need to know. No, he's asking dumb gotcha questions about DC personalities. That's it. There's never any substance. It's never tied to anything real, any actual crises. It is doing PR for Republican politicians for the most part, and especially for Fox News, Brett. That is all that it is.
And you can tell by the smirk on his face at the end of his questions, because he knows it's ridiculous. He knows it's stupid. No one takes him seriously. The guy is asking about nepotism when his name is Peter Doocy. Mm-hmm. He's harping on the corruption of giving special favors and handouts to your kid when his dad is one of the three Muppets barking nonsense, and as though it's a children's show, as though it's Sesame Street, to everyone's grandma every morning on Fox and Friends.
Yeah, 100%. And by the way, just to give you a reminder, because we haven't talked much about Fox and Friends recently, about what, and then they have Peter on all the time. I think it was yesterday, I think it was Kilmeade said, those who still wear masks are psychotic. We're about to cruise past 1 million deaths. There's still between 30 and 40,000 new cases, 500 deaths on a daily basis. You are psychotic if you wear masks. That's the journalistic comfort the afflicted, afflict the comfortable philosophy that they are following over there on Fox. I will close by saying, Brett, and I want your question about this. I still don't like that she knows months in advance that she's going to be working for a particular partisan news outlet, and she's still working like to represent. It just feels like, I think she can mock Peter Doocy and Fox News as much as she wants. They deserve it. But when you have your own sort of, like, you're setting up a fan base now, I do think that there are some ethical concerns. I think that they might be a bit overplayed by the right, but I don't like it. It feels dirty to me.
A, she already has a fan base. B, this is a huge get for MSNBC because usually they only hire former Republican press secretaries.
That's true too. Hey, it's balance.
And that's it. And this is like the weird realignment we're in right now. It's MSNBC is exactly that thing people criticize them for. It is New Yorkers of all types that are like, I think Republicans are too dirty now. Yeah. And I'm gonna make rich establishment coastal elites essentially feel good about not changing anything. I'm socially progressive, but fiscally conservative. That's what it's for. And they're getting another one. And I still also John Roberts is pretty good when he is in those press secretary circles or doing the press conferences, even though he does look like a 1950s drawing in a magazine of someone intended to sell suits to people.
Nice. That's a very specific thing. Anyway, we got to get into another topic. The hours racing by. We had said yesterday on the show that the process of choosing which states are going to be voting first in the Democratic primary in the next presidential election is it's in a bit of an earthquake situation right now. We don't know how it's going to shake out. That's a big change. Well, we've got another big change coming, but first this.
He hit my hands. Nobody has ever hit my hands. I've never heard of this one. Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee it.
Yeah, I think we can all agree that debate is an important tradition in the United States. It sheds light and truth on the candidates and what they truly believe. It forces them to take positions and then stick to them once they get elected. It's a good thing we have debates, or at least had debates, because maybe we won't be having these presidential debates anymore. The RNC just voted yesterday unanimously to withdraw its participation from the Commission on Presidential Debates. Now, that doesn't mean we won't have debates, but that's the commission that's produced the ones that we've had for literally decades. They do have some specific concerns though, and they might not be 100% wrong. We're gonna dive into some of the issues they had. First of all, Ronna McDaniel, RNC chairwoman, had this to say: the commission is biased and has refused to enact simple and common sense reforms to help ensure fair debates, including hosting debates before voting begins and selecting moderators who have never worked for candidates on the debate stage. By the way, the commission has been hosting every presidential election debate since 1988. So this has been for quite a while. And it's not surprising though, because Donald Trump whined about the debate process constantly in the past elections. He refused to participate in some for a variety of different reasons, unless they paid him. He didn't like that some were being held virtually because of coronavirus and all that. He's a big whiner, and so because of that, they all have to be. But Brett, I'm curious, do you think that's it, or do you think they're gonna find some sort of other way to make these happen?
This feels like right before the baseball season when there's like a lockout and they haven't hit their, oh my God, we might not have a preseason. That's what it feels like. This is negotiation. There's been some crazy stuff that's happened with the debate group. And they do have some like very real good criticisms of it. I think though what the Republicans have a problem with is that they're boring and that they're actual debates. And whenever they're forced to be debates about the ideas, which is what they should be, Trump isn't able to shine in the stupid way that he always shines, the WWE way of shining. But yeah, I think that watching debates under the current framework of basically what they pulled out of is like watching Shakespeare. Like you think you, for the most part, know what they're talking about unless you're an expert, and you want to have an expert nearby to explain to you what just happened. But occasionally there'll be like some big, broad slapstick moment where everybody's like, yeah, I got that. Yes, sir, you are no Jack Kennedy. Oops. Yeah. Like there's There's little moments. And so that is not in step with the thing that, because in the primary season, the parties run it. And so you get your ridiculous moments that you want, the specific moment that you want. And that's what I saw. I mean, I remember standing and laughing as Trump was annihilating all the pencil necks next to him on stage during the first Republican primary debate in 2016.
Yeah, and the issue is we learned a lot about him and about the rest of them, but not much about what they would do. I mean, remember Trump was making claims about how he was going to do universal health care. How'd that work out? Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. Like, I don't know what's going to be left of the elections soon after all this. So they're not doing the debates. Like, by the way, on the debates, someone reminded me, I completely forgot about this. Isn't it crazy what you can forget about in American politics? Trump tested positive for COVID and then showed up to debate with Joe Biden anyway. Yeah, there were no consequences for that. He could have killed Joe Biden anyway. But yeah, so they're not going to do the debates. The Republicans don't do a platform anymore. There's more election than ever before, but less to it than ever before. It's like Skyrim. It's like bigger but shallower. There's just nothing to these elections anymore. I hope the Democratic primary at least has some substance, because that's pretty much all we're gonna get.
You got a television star in Trump, and they want him to play to his strengths in every possible opportunity. And as I said earlier in this program, but like, they have a lot of confidence in their ability to effectively communicate to a lot of people in right-wing media echo chambers. Yeah. And so when you're doing a negotiation, you really have to ask, like, what do I need? What do I need to engage in? And ask anyone in politics. If you're in the lead, you don't want to debate. So everybody's dodging debates. There's a bunch of people that just thoroughly dodge debates all the time. And if an entire party can get away with dodging a debate and still win, why wouldn't they? That's politics.
Yeah, and practically, it's not the biggest show of confidence. Let's just note that. Anyway, with that said, we're gonna take our second break. We come back, yet another Republican candidate has been alleged to have committed multiple acts of sexual assault. We're gonna be breaking all of those details down after this.
Roar.
That was a contemplative roar. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Reminder, although Brett already thankfully started us off, we are up for a Webby here at the Damage Report, which would be an amazing bit of recognition for the many people that contribute to the Damage Report every single day. Brett's got a Webby there, but if you'd like us to get one of those, you can go to tyt.com/vote, and you can vote every day, and that would be great. Many of you already have. Thank you to those of you who did that. Brett is in the process of playing his Webby like an accordion right now. I assume it's gonna snap at any second.
I know.
Anyway,
they're fun. Okay. They're ugly, but now, they're fun.
Yes, exactly. Well, we'd like one. Anyway, there's been a lot of comments. I gotta get to some and recognize people. Keela Bolin, welcome to Tier 1 membership on YouTube. Glad to have you here. Catherine has been a Tier 3 member for 16 months from the very beginning and just says thanks. No, thanks to you. Nana Nikki's been a Tier 3 member for 11 months, says I love TDR and the whole TYT network family. I see things here first, then 2 days later, mainstream media picks up the story. No wonder you're gonna win the Webby, John. Thank you for all you do. I appreciate that, thank you. The Atheist God Dragon has been a Tier 3 member for 5 months and says, does anyone know where we are congregating in the event Damage Report does not win the vote? I've got a sack of soup cans ready for the riot. It's soup for my family. Anyway, what a throwback there, nice. Robert Ryder says in a super chat, TGIF Dragon Daddy. Oh yeah, I am so looking for, I got a game night planned for tonight. I might play some Survive Escape from Atlantis or something, maybe some King of Tokyo.
Kraken?
Game.
You play Kraken tonight?
Might play some Kraken actually, might drink some Kraken anyway. Ambrosia sent in a comment to say, Brett, the best part of my Friday. Love you too, Dragon Daddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't say. You know what? I'll do it when we get back. I want to make sure that people know. Yoda says, John, now we're halfway through the season. Are you ready to admit Moon Knight is the best content the MCU has produced? I mean that fight sequence. Yoda, thank you for the super chat. I have watched the first 3 episodes, and I will say I am liking it, and it is very unique. And Oscar Isaac is doing a very good job. No, it's not. It's not my favorite of the shows. It's good. I think the fighting is good, but
I've seen fighting,
Hawkeye
dude.
more.
I like Hawkeye. It's a story. I mean, it's tough. I know all these people. I know Hawkeye already. You have to build Moon Knight from scratch with some really weird, like, It's
interesting, but I don't know. I like the uncredited appearance of, who's the guy that plays Bilbo? Does he not sound exactly like that British actor when he's doing his British accent?
Oh, I don't know.
What is his name?
Martin Freeman.
Martin Freeman. He sounds exactly like Martin Freeman. He's a very good actor and he's doing a great job. And I love the wife character. It's a good show. Everyone should watch it. They're all solid shows, but it's just not my favorite. That's all.
Yeah.
So far,
I haven't seen the third one yet.
Yeah, it's good. It's good, and it does have good action.
I watched Outer Range today, this morning, because I got up at 2 a.m. I've seen 2 episodes of Outer Range with Josh Brolin today.
Okay, I'll look into that. I saw
so
Billboard on my way to work anyway. Jackson Kissling sent a super chat to say the Russians using the sinking of the Moskva to justify war is pretty much exactly what we did in the Gulf of Tonkin. Exactly. It's a bit late though to use that. It's worse than the Gulf of Tonkin.
False flagship.
Anyway, false flagship. Oh, the title of the podcast. We got to say that in the actual episode. Miriam says, John, Brett, you're my only hope. I became a member of TYT a month ago, but I'm not able to watch the post game live. Am I missing something? I watch y'all every day and I just love y'all. Okay, we're gonna return to that and try to figure out what is going on. Sorry about that. But first, we got to get back to some news.
Party.
During the chat, Brett came up with false flagship for what's going on with the Moskva. No, it did actually go down. We're not asserting that it's a false flag, but their use of it certainly feels like that. Anyway, with that said, I think it's time to jump into some unfun with this.
Early on, when I got into politics at age 22 in Nebraska, I was groped at a political event by someone who is not a member of this body and not a current or former office holder. I buried it because I'd gone through a worse trauma in college and tried to minimize it, just as I tried to minimize it when I've been touched inappropriately on this floor and in committee by members of this body. And most of you were on the floor when a member who, on the mic, talked about raping me on the floor of the legislature. That doesn't even get to the rape threats, the death threats, and sexual comments directed towards me on social media. Our policies definitely don't protect staff, and they definitely don't protect female senators.
Now that is State Senator Julie Slama talking about a great variety of different instances of harassment and assault, both before and after becoming a state senator. And there's a lot there that definitely needs to be looked into. Every woman, and state senators should not be an exception to this, should be safe and comfortable, able to do their job. And clearly that is not the case. However, she is also just one of a number of women that are making claims specifically about a candidate. Front runner in Nebraska's GOP gubernatorial primary, Charles Herbster, has apparently assaulted, according to these allegations, a large number of women over the course of years, from 2017 to this year. The women ranged in age from their late teens to mid-20s at the time of the incident. 8 women as of right now have come forward with allegations. It is possible that as this story is picked up and spread, more will potentially. So in any event, I wanna get to some of the details, starting with Ms. Slama, who says, this is quoted by the Nebraska Examiner, she was appointed to the legislature back in January of 2019. She was in a crowded ballroom at the Douglas County Republican Party's annual Elephant Remembers dinner that April when she was walking by Mr. Herbster. The news outlet reported that he then reached up her skirt without her consent and touched her inappropriately, which is just, I can't. We have heard so many instances like this, and I cannot conceive of a person making a choice like this, let alone constantly doing this and then going on to continue to run for office as so many of these people do. This is just the most recent Republican who has faced multiple allegations of either domestic abuse or sexual assault. Like, we have to be specific. In this video, if you're like jumping into the middle of the video, we're talking about Charles Herbster, not one of the many others that we've reported on, by the way, and he is the front runner to be governor. Another person at that event saw Herbster do this and told the Examiner about it. Not that multiple witnesses will be enough to get Republicans necessarily to take this seriously, but to be clear, they're there. The witness and 2 others say that they saw Herbster grope another young woman on her buttocks at the same event. Multiple assaults just at one event. 6 women told the Nebraska Examiner that Herbster touched them inappropriately when they were selling hello or goodbye to him, or when they were posing for a photograph by his side, with women saying that Herbster groped them on their buttocks outside of their clothes during political events or beauty pageants. Each woman says that she was grabbed, not inadvertently grazed by Herbster. It was an intentional thing. A 7th woman said that Herbster cornered her privately and kissed her forcibly. And this guy is, as we keep saying, the front runner. He is high profile. He is in fact endorsed by this individual, Donald Trump, writing an endorsement. He is apparently a tremendous supporter of America First. And he would be great for, I don't even want to read all the details considering all that we know about him, but Trump is behind this guy. And do you think that these details are going to cause him to retract his endorsement? I hope I'm wrong. I hope he does, Brett, but I kind of doubt it.
Just one disgusting detail of this. The former mayor of Omaha, just to give you an idea of what's happening and the other people who are supporting this guy. He inquired, you could look at this on her Twitter. He inquired to see what she was wearing when she got groped. And she tweeted a photograph of what she was wearing when she got groped. He's like, I want to know more. I want to know what she was wearing. That thing that like at this point seems like who actually says, well, what were you wearing when you got groped? There are people in Nebraska politics, this sick cabal. And if you're like, oh, there's something you always hear is like, this is a takedown from a disgruntled Democratic plant. No, Slama is a Republican, a very pro-life Republican, outspoken. Like this is on, like all of those things that they throw up there as a smokescreen to say, well, locker room talk. Like this guy, according to these accusations, does just start kissing them.
Yeah.
And regardless of like, to dole out an endorsement shouldn't and usually doesn't come without some level of heavy vetting.
Yeah.
As to whether the guy is doing heavy petting. And he is. And it doesn't seem to dissuade Trump from giving the old who's got 2 thumbs and supports and endorses serial gropers, this guy.
Exactly. Yeah, they're consistent. By the way, these particular allegations, we don't know. It's possible he's been doing it to many other women for much longer. Started in 2017. Is it possible that he started to think, well, nobody cares about this stuff. You can get elected and do this, so why not just do it? And by the way, Julie Slama, the woman that you saw in that video, who is just one again of 8 women, she is a Republican. So I know some people would be like, well, why didn't you say something immediately? Why didn't you do something? No, but like this is a well-connected, powerful person who is victimizing you. She wants this career. She believes that she should be able to run and hold office based on her merits or whatever. If she says something, who do you think they're going to believe? Who do you think they're going to side with? Is it more likely that he will face consequences or that her career is done and that's it? And she's never getting endorsements. She's never winning election as a Republican. I can totally understand that fear.
And she's explicitly said on the floor, like, I don't want to be defined by this. Yeah, that's the reason she has said, I don't want to be defined by this. I never did. It's come up. You've asked the question. You're going to get an answer. And guess what? She's going to be defined by this. And that's one of the many things we've mentioned that's not fair to her and illegal.
Exactly. Okay, you know what? Really fast, one more thing. Charles Herbster, like to my theory that he might be like taking lessons from Trump. He says this: they did it with Brett Kavanaugh. They certainly did it with Donald J. Trump, and now they're trying to do it with Charles Herbster. That was not his spokesperson. That was him talking about himself in the first person. So the idea that he might pattern himself after Trump, I think there's something to it. Anyway, let's jump into kind of a ridiculous topic to close out our hour with this.
Stay healthy on the campaign trail.
Well, it's a lot of work. You know, when I'm speaking in front of 15 and 20,000 people and I'm up there using a lot of motion, I guess in its own way, it's a pretty healthy act.
So that's Donald Trump talking about how when he does his YMCA dance or whatever, he's getting some exercise. But the thing is, while we wanted to play that for you, partially to remind you that Trump is now endorsing that guy to be the next Republican senator from Pennsylvania, which is ridiculous. The topic of health is something that he himself has been raising several times recently, and I wonder if it might be revealing something. He said in an interview recently with the Washington Post, "You always have to talk about health. You look like you're in good health, but tomorrow you get a letter from a doctor saying, 'Come see me again.' That's not good when they use the word again." And he was asked last year if he would run again and said, "Well, one reason could be your health. You get a call from the doctor and that's the end of that. That stuff happens. You hope it doesn't. I just had a medical, just had great result. You never know. There are many things that can happen. Politics is a crazy world. It's a big commitment of you, your children, your wife, and your family." And in fact, in his endorsement of Dr. Oz, which I referenced, he brought up his own health too. Now he's pretending that he's in good health, but he has multiple times now referenced doctors giving you bad news and how that might affect your willingness to run again or your ability to run again. I personally think that Trump is far less strategic than just stream of consciousness. Is it possible, Brett, that he has been having some difficult conversations about his health? He's like 76 years old and he hasn't been in good health for decades, seemingly.
I don't know. We need to find the sacred amulet that his soul is stuck in to see if it's melting or something like that. Like we all know this.
Destroy that Horcrux.
Only the good die young. You know what I mean? It's what it is. It's just, I mean, that's what I've resigned myself to. Is when he goes and has those little, heart diagnoses and goes and does the EKG or whatever the hell. I'm certain he's one of those people where the doctors look at him and be like, how is this guy still up and running? But his heart's still working against all odds. And regardless of what the case is, I am not going to take any appraisal of Trump's health seriously if it's remotely connected to Dr. Oz or any TV doctor who's on there to huck BS merchandise.
Exactly. Look, I agree with you, but Donald, if you're watching this, I do think that it's important that you watch out for your health, and you should get advice from the best doctors. So anything that Dr. Oz tells you to do to safeguard your health, that's what you should do, and only those things. You should take the supplements and pills he tells you to take, and that's it. Don't listen to those other doctors that went to schools and stuff. What do they know? Listen to Dr. Oz. Anyway, it is possible that he is worried about his health. It is possible some people are raising the possibility that he's putting that out there so that if he decides not to run, he can claim that's why rather than polling, or maybe DeSantis raises a ton of money. I don't know. Anyway, just something to think about as we get closer to that primary.
He's gonna figuratively run, even though there's no way he can physically run.
He's not gonna run, he's just gonna do his dance like this. Anyway, if you're listening on the podcast, I want to thank you so much for being here. Really do appreciate you. By the way, if you are on the podcast, consider rating and reviewing our podcast on Apple Podcasts. That's very helpful for discoverability. Now, if you are watching on the Members app or YouTube or Twitch, don't go anywhere because we've got a lot to get to, including Charlie Kirk's insane conflation of the trans community and inflation, as well as the throwing away of the garbage people of the day. So we're gonna take a quick couple-minute break, but hold on to your butts because we'll be back in just a few. Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm John Iadarola. Brett Erlich joins me. Brett, I am dying to find out what is going on Game Busters tonight.
Me too. Jordan texted last night, "What are we playing?" And I don't know what the answer was. I saw that. I don't know, but it's gonna be some super fun games. You can bust the game right open with definitely Jordan Newell, and so just do that. It's always fun.
Do that thing. Yeah. I've heard that the no build mode in Fortnite is bringing people back to the game. There's a write-up, I think, on The Verge, so maybe something to look into. That's fun. And I would play if I wasn't having a game night, playing them board games. Got to move the little pieces around.
Kind of thing.
I wasn't invited.
I wasn't officially invited.
I do feel bad, but yeah. Anyway, okay, so let's see what's going on out there. Oh, first, did you know JR has a show? If you're just finding out right now, where the hell have you been? Anyway, JR has a show. It's the Watch List. It's every weekday leading up to our show. It is it is the first crack at the news on the Young Turks network every day at 12 p.m. Eastern time, 9 a.m. Pacific time. He has awesome guests. He had David Dole yesterday. I think Ravana was on this morning, and they were breaking down news and politics and pop culture and current event and sports and everything. So you can watch that on Twitch or youtube.com/watchlistTYT every weekday. Also coming up after our program, the second piece of bread in the news sandwich is indisputable. Dr. Rashad Ritchie being joined by Adrian Lawrence, a rare Friday appearance for Adrian on Indisputable. That'll be coming up right after our program. But first, Quasita the Q Dragon has been a tier 2 member for 12 months, gets access to our weekly top 10 list that I do with Francesca Fiorentini, which is available to our tier 2 and tier 3 members. Says, as an Omaha resident, I'm so frustrated to hear the trickle down dismissive attitude of Gov Dollar Store Lex Luthor, but leftist progressives do exist here. Storm the unicameral, dragons represent. Wait, who is? I'm not exactly sure the reference is being made there. Maybe I'm not big enough into DC. I don't know. But thank you for being here. John Oxford said in a super chat, you know, Trump wasn't at the crime scene, but neither was Charlie Manson, and we all know where he died. Ugh. BH says in a super chat, where's your suit, John? What is Brett not worth impressing? I just thought that if I wore a tie, Brett would make fun of me, and so I wanted to avoid that.
I was like, he did it twice in a row. What was the second day for?
The first day was rising. The second day was, this wasn't so bad. Maybe I'll do. Oh, it was doing the second hour with Anna. I thought we'd be together in studio and I could surprise her and me dressing up, but that didn't happen. And then yesterday I participated in the Northwestern University Symposium on Human Rights and the Environment. So that's what.
Well, that's great.
It went very well. Okay, Yoda said, John, now we're halfway through the that's the Moon Knight thing. Yeah, I'm gonna keep watching. By the way.
Do you know this symposium means get together and drink? That's what the word means. That's what I like about symposium. So when everyone's doing a symposium where they get together and share thoughts, originally in ancient Greece or whatever, they would get together, get drunk, and just start talking.
It does sound fun.
Awesome.
I'd like to have one of those. Do you remember when TYT did, I think we called them salons for a little bit. Do you remember the salons?
I remember we covered Solange, but that's about as.
That's probably, I think it's related actually. Anyway, Matthias said in a super chat, got my TYT shirt celebrating the Ukrainians telling that ship where to go. Pretty funny. Alan Smith says, hit the big 4-0 today. Can I get a shout out? You can. 4 zeros represent on this panel. Anyway, Avatar Roku's Dragon says, I just found out today that I too am Ukrainian. Hey, what do you know about that? And Matthias says, women staying in the party abusing them is insane. You leave and fight them. Otherwise, they see it as implicit consent to continue right, wrong, or right. Just my opinion, that party's a problem. You are, of course, entitled to your opinion. I assume she would say, I represent the party better than he does, and how I'm not going to allow him to run me out. I'm going to run him out, maybe? I don't know. Anyway, we're going to get to more of your comments after this next story, but let's jump into it.
So there's a direct connection to inflation and the trans issue. I say, Charlie, come on, they couldn't be further apart. No, they're exactly the same. They're the same in this aspect. When you believe that men can become women, why wouldn't you also believe that you could print wealth? If you believe that someone can change their gender, why wouldn't you also believe that money is wealth?
Now, look, I'd like to admit that I have often been highly critical of Charlie Kirk, implying that in comparison to the other dozen or so Ben Shapiro clones that the right has pumped out, he is neither as well-researched, is able to speak really quickly and all that. But he does seem to have one particular talent, Brett. I think he is able to put together an entire news rundown purely by Mad Libs. I think he is just saying random words and then linking them. We talked on Wednesday about his tall buildings make you liberal theory. Now, the trans community is responsible for prices going up. What do you think?
Insane. He is dumb.
Mad. He's mad.
That was so dumb. Like, that's one of those where you look at the pile of stupid and you're like, do I engage with this pile of stupid? Do you realize that value is just what you agree value is anyway? Like, that is what our money's about. Gold is a shiny rock, you doink. If you're like, we gotta have money based on real things that have real scarcity, like gold, we don't want, ours is literally, our entire financial system is based on trust in the Federal Reserve, essentially. But even like the things he thinks are real are just stuff we agree on. And so if we, by his logic of what he would call real wealth, real value, it only goes as deep as what we agree on anyway. So by that logic, which you barely put forward, but if I find something that makes a modicum of sense in your stupidity, by that definition, you just proved that you can be a woman if we agree you're a woman. And you can be a man if we agree you're a man. That's your logic, you total idiot. And somewhere Ben Shapiro's just like, oh my God, I just don't book me with that idiot.
He's just doing a worse version. It's just, he's covering the Ben Shapiro hits, but like totally out of tune. That doesn't make any sense. Gender, like we will never be able to get through to them. It is a social construct. I know that you think that that's really weird, and for some reason you would feel very comfortable if it was tied to chromosomes or something, but that's not actually how it works. I don't know why you freak out about this. Honestly, at this point, I fundamentally don't really even understand. Like, so my gender identity is that I'm male, but I don't even know what that means or matters. Like, what's the difference, honestly? But they are weaponizing it to get their base, like to attack this community. And I'm gonna admit something here. If you are watching this maybe afterward on YouTube or whatever, we snared you because you came in to see Charlie Kirk saying something crazy, and he did. But I want to be very clear about the main point. The main reason I ever bring him and the others up is whether you watch his videos and you think that he's crazy, or especially if you watch them and you think finally there's someone who represents me, please understand what his strategy here is. He didn't like go to sleep and wake up like freaking out about how more trans people makes gas more expensive. He is in the effort of producing a political discourse that doesn't mean anything, that is just random and bizarre. Because so long as you are invested in that, whether in favor of what he's saying or being forced into a position of opposing it, because this is consequential and has stakes, you're not talking about taxes and you're not talking about regulations on business, and you're not challenging in any way the people who are financially backing him and the many other Ben Shapiro clones. This is an offensive strategy that allows the battle to be waged in Crazy Town so that we're not waging it against those who actually are already winning economically, that already have a stranglehold over our economy. Anyway, Brett, any other thoughts about this?
I just know you have another video, and I think it's what I want to say more about. I'm not quite sure which part you pulled, but I want to watch it.
Let's jump into it.
Now, there are very simple laws of economics, just like there's laws of nature, there's laws of physics, laws of thermodynamics, laws of biology. We must live according to those laws. We believe there's a law maker and a designer. And being Christians, we believe those laws were made to be followed for our flourishing and our prosperity. The law is a teacher. The law is a guide to how to properly live. You live in defiance to the law, you lie, steal, or cheat, you actually won't flourish. You'll be miserable. You'll be unhappy. You'll get further from God's wish for you. Now, outside of the religious component of this, we also believe There are laws of economics.
Brett, I'm gonna let you get first crack at this, and then I'll say my piece.
So here's my short answer to transgenderism. Like, if you read the Bible, so let's just go on your book club, which all religion is just a book club anyway. So I read your text, and it said that originally Eve was made of man parts. It started as Adam. God took Adam, took the man stuff, and turned it into a female. Adam's rib became Eve. So that is transgenderism in your book, according to how y'all break it down. Things he says that reveal he's an idiot. He's like laws of physics, laws of thermodynamics, and laws of economics. There is no way in hell that anyone who went to college, which he didn't, I hate to break it to you, it's separated into BAs and BSs. The BSs aren't BSs. The BA is the BS. I have a BA. I have a BA from Stanford University in political science. BS.
Me too, but
bachelor's in science. The actual sciences, those are the ones with laws. I hate to break it to you, Charlie, you stupid idiot, when you're talking about laws of physics, those ones that you take to be set in stone change in the quantum realm, you moron. And the laws of economics, those change and shift all the time. Those are the fuzzy principles. Those are the fuzzy areas of study where we grapple with stuff, but it's based on human things. So if you're talking science and we're talking chromosomes, in that world, you can have people who have all kinds of gonads and all kinds of chromosomes lining up. It's not just male and female, even in that vertical. But if you're talking about what we agree to be male and female attributes, I can call you a pussy. And I'm calling you what would be considered female genitalia, but you're a dude with a PP. And you then, in understanding that I'm attacking you in a very misogynistic way that I don't agree with, but I'm attacking you that way, you understand that there's attributes of femaleness that aren't reliant on your gonads, you moron.
Yeah, it's
all an act.
It's a social construction. That's what it is. And they did not need to learn. They invoke biology. They didn't learn the biology and then come to this misconception. They never even learned it. They invoke it, but that's it. It's very arm's length there. They don't understand this. As people are pointing out, wait, so he's concerned about both the laws of physics and the laws of thermodynamics? It's a subset, man.
Yeah,
like honestly, like I'm not gonna say that I did great in physics. I got a pretty bad grade in physics in college because I mostly read Harry Potter and while I was in class. But I don't pretend then to know it. And by the way, I would also choose a lane. If you want to pretend that on this one issue and this one only, you're the guys who actually care about the science and the people who, again, are not talking about biology, they're talking about social construction, that they don't understand science, you then can't then smoothly go into, yeah, no, it's biology and thermodynamics or whatever the bishop says. Like if you want to be the fuzzy wuzzy religious dogma guy, you can try that. It never makes sense in practice. That you're saying there's no way that a biological male or whatever can be conceived of, contextualized as female in this geographic and temporal context, but then saying, oh, but a cracker can become flesh. Oh, that can change. Oh, one being can be both Jesus and God and the Holy Spirit that switches back and forth at all. Like you clearly believe in these sorts of changes in other contexts. It's either the science or it's the dogma. That's how it works.
And Christians don't even agree on that aspect of it.
Exactly.
Catholics believe in transubstantiation, and Christians, non-Catholic Christians, believe in consubstantiation. So the Catholics are like, no, that cracker looks like a cracker, and that wine tastes like wine, looks like wine.
Yeah,
but it is blood. And the Christians are like, well, that's ridiculous. Anyways, drink up.
And fundamentally, again, if you're a conservative and you're watching this, you've gotten this far, he doesn't care about this. He doesn't want you to take a look at his backers. That's it.
Yeah.
Anyway, with that said, we are way over. So are we ready to do this thing? You let me know when we're ready to do this thing. We're ready to do this thing? Okay. It's the end of the week, and so it's time to take out the trash. It's been a pretty garbagey week. Brett, who have you chosen to throw out?
I don't know their names. I don't know where they're affiliated with, but I know they're ruining this plane flight for a lot of folks. Let's take a look. Usually I pick someone who's relevant to the political conversation. For that, you can go to youtube.com/RebelHQ. Look at my playlist. I did a video this week about Ted Cruz and BJs and hunger. This is just people in the sky who decided once the seatbelt sign went off, they would stand up and start playing Jesus music at 30,000 feet in the air. There's a lot of things I love and hate. There's a lot of things I hate about this video. One of the things I love about it, as and Marissa also saw this, that guy right there in the blue collar is just like, get me out of it. Dude, I know that these are pressurized cabins, but can I please open the window and jump out? Like, also
at that moment, it's Jesus, take the joystick. I'm out of this thing. I don't want to be a part of this. Don't inflict yourself on people. Don't inflict. They should be able to consent, to opt in. I don't want to hear literally any music. My favorite singer could stand up on a plane and start singing. I would tell him to sit down, please, or her. I do not want to hear a random a cappella Jesus thing.
I love it because like there is a Bible story about like getting too presumptuous when you're that close to heaven. It's the Tower of Babel. They just got too high and God was like, I smite thee. Like, that's it, man. I hate it. I hate it so much. I cannot imagine, like if I was in the plane with these people, my wife would be grabbing me and being like, don't get in a fight, don't get in a fight, don't get in a fight. Please do not get in a fight. Don't make a point.
Yeah.
It is.
I could honestly see this. Yeah, I don't like it. Don't do it. But I could see this becoming like a standard thing on Spirit Airlines to inspire more optional earplug purchases.
Yeah,
they make you pay for everything. Anyway, no, don't do this. Your art is for you. You do not force people, especially in filming. Like TikTok is your thing. You do it at your place or whatever if you want to go viral. Like the world is not your stage, and every other human is not like your background extras. Anyway,
so
good
bad. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. For my garbage person of the week, I got a real doozy. Take a look at this.
I want to give you a little history on homelessness. 1910, Hitler decided to live on the streets for a while. So for 2 years, Hitler lived on the streets and practiced his oratory and his body language and how to connect with masses, and then went on to lead a life that got him in the history books. So a lot of these people, it's not a dead end. They can come out of these homeless camps and have a productive life, or in Hitler's case, a very unproductive life. I support this bill.
Frank Nicely, would you please get in this? Because I think there's a spot for you. Don't try to save it at the end with he was unproductive. You were just using Hitler as the only example you could come up with in how people who are unhoused as a period in their life could then go on to great things. Terrible, but great. Is that honestly what you're doing? No, that's what he did. And he supports it. The misdemeanor criminalization of homeless encampments on public property. That's what he's speaking out in support of.
Jewel lived in a van. Steve Harvey was homeless for a while. These are the examples I think you really need to gravitate more toward. It's like people who, you can tell people who don't read a lot of books. They're the ones who are always telling you about the book they just read. Like,
yes,
it's just like, all right, just because you listen to like hardcore history or something doesn't mean you need to tell me everything you know about Hitler at any given time.
Exactly. No, and especially in support of this. So after he did that, the state legislature passed the bill he was speaking out on, HB 0978, a vote of 22-10, making, quote, the solicitation or camping along a controlled access highway or entrance or exit ramp a misdemeanor resulting in a fine and community service. It is expected that Tennessee Governor Bill Lee, who's also a Republican, is going to sign it. So it isn't just the quote, which is terrible. It isn't just invoking Hitler that's terrible. It's that it was done in support of increased criminalization of being unhoused. I do want to just be very clear about something. While the attempted history lesson is hardly the most important part of this, it also wasn't true what he described. Despite the senator describing his statement as being a history lesson, Hitler did not choose homelessness for a couple years. He failed to gain admission to the Vienna Academy of Fine Arts. He used up his savings and he ended up sleeping on park benches and begging for money. And by the way, years before the Holocaust, as sort of a part of this, he lived in a hostel for the homeless in Vienna between 1910 and 1913, where many of his friends were apparently Jews. He described that period as the harshest and saddest time of his life, although it hardly seemed to have produced a little bit more empathy for other people in that condition than Hitler himself was experiencing. And flash forward decades and decades and decades, you got people in positions of political power who have as little empathy, seemingly, as Hitler at that point.
I just also want to add something that is baffling about this story is the law where you're going to fine homeless people. You're going to charge people without money $50.
Exactly. If they had the $50,
you're going to make it more likely that they'll be in this situation again.
Exactly. By the way, Nicely has popped up in the news previously. Back in 2009, he was a part of a group of Tennessee Republicans who tried to force President Barack Obama to turn over his birth certificate. He said in 2017 that carbon dioxide is not a pollutant. It's just as natural as oxygen. And he apparently said very recently, just in October, he's not sure if the South actually lost the war. It's too early to tell, talking about the Civil War. Cool guy. His name is Nicely, not the nicest guy. Anyway, with that said, those are our garbage people of the week. You all voted. 37,000 of you voted. And here are your top 5 community garbage person of the week. Coming in at number 5, or tied 5 and 4 with 15% of the vote, you have Charlie Kirk for blaming trans people for inflation, so some crossover there. Another number 4, 15% of the vote, Uber and Lyft for upping prices after the New York subway shooting, although they did eventually stop that. Number 3 is 16% of the vote is Sean Hannity for attempting to backtrack on his ivermectin lies. Number 2 with 20% of the vote is Mark Meadows for essentially committing voter fraud, as we talked about earlier. But your garbage person of the week with 34% of the vote is Senator Kyrsten Sinema for gleefully promising not to raise corporate taxes. That is some prime quality garbage there. So thank you to all of you who voted. Thank you as well to Brett Erlich for joining us as always. Thank you, Brett. It's always good to have you here.
So good. Thanks for having me. And I look forward to more appearances on this show if you'll have me.
I do, and I look forward to you also seeing me in person at some point. Let's set that up.
Okay.
Anyway, okay. Thank you. Have a good one, man.
You too.
Everyone can see him on Game Busters later on. You can see me leading Francesca Fiorentini as well as Farron Cousins in the first hour of the I can't come up with Power Panel for some reason. The Power Panel. I've only hosted it 300 times or something. The Power Panel is coming up. It's going to be awesome. So join us for that. But Indisputable is up next. So stick and stay. Don't go anywhere. Until next time, stay safe out there. Stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.